Now, so this is a world texture. We're going to dive into texel density in varying degrees as we go on. And we're going to go into how we generate these objects and what these objects represent as we go on in the lectures. Let's get the lighting back on here. For the start, I want you to remember texel density means consistency, okay? We want the object to be consistently the same size and the same resolution throughout the entire scene. If not throughout the entire scene, especially within the same asset. And that'll make more sense as we're going on, but one of the things that people tend to do, and there are times when you can break these rules, and again, these rules are, I wouldn't even call them rules, they are strongly assessed um, strongly assessed codes of conduct, I guess. I don't even know what you'd call it. But these are just general guidelines. But when you're doing things to try and enhance resolution, or you really want something really important on a texture sheet, you need to know what you're doing. So if you're just scaling a UV domain or something arbitrarily, it's important to understand the ramifications of this. And this is why mapping stuff to grids, to actually having set sizes your for your assets ahead of time is going to be really, really useful. And it also helps too because at the end of most projects, especially you kind of go through like this really happy fun time where all the art looks amazing and everything looks great. Then you get closer to shipping and then you have to start reducing and optimizing stuff. And when you do that, you want to make sure that the reductions that you do have an even effect on everything because again the eye goes to areas of contrast or areas of change or areas of non-visual continuity. So if you were to take this 2040 or this 1024 and let's say we scaled this thing up, we're going to match it to one of these larger guys here. Just free scale it. And again, we're viewing this in max where it's an uncompressed targa, so we're not going to see the full visual degradation. It's going to go into first person camera here. Now this is a 1024 that's been tiled to the correct resolution on a 4096 texture. Okay. Now again, this is an extreme version of this, but if you have the same texture, okay, there it is. Now it's on the wall. Do you see the visual breakdown that's happening? Now this is in max, so it only can do you so good because max is showing everything uncompressed. But when you add compression and runtime performant things that need to happen to your game, this will really degrade your game's image quality. When people talk about stuff looking low resolution, 9 times out of 10, this is what they're talking about. This will also, we'll dive into this when we start doing a little bit more of the texturing stuff, but we'll talk about resolution and noise and trying to keep things as performant as we can and also trying to hide some detail. One of the things that you're going to find, especially for this first section of the game modeling course, I'm going to try and keep the normal mapping stuff down to the absolute bare minimum. I want you guys to kind of just focus on just getting the raw game content in there, so we're going to be relying a little bit more on geometry probably than what you would in most cases, but for learning purposes and for the sake of the class, I think it's actually really good for you guys to actually see how all this works. So that's the way we're going to be doing a lot of this stuff. And again, for the first part of this, we're going to make all of our props and assets, or our starting point for our props, based off the UDK specifications. Because if you're working at a company that hasn't made the jump yet to UDK or to Unreal Engine 4, which probably a lot of you are, or you're working in an indie studio or you're at a school or whatever, I want to show you guys how to transfer old assets into newer engines because making sure your engine continuity and stuff is making sure your content lives for a long time is really important. And part of texel density is understanding how to make really easy checkers. So just grab a checker tile inside of Max, set the resolution, and you can, if you right click on that little sphere there, you can render out the map.